The following is an exclusive presentation of the LSU Sports Radio Network. Getting ready for another week of LSU Fighting Tiger football.
It's going to be intercepted, taken away. It's going to be Eli Ricks. 15, 10, 5, pick six, touchdown, Tigers!
Welcome in to the Coach O press conference.
Sell Truth Monday. I can't wait to see our team today.
A recap of last week and a look ahead to the battle coming up.
Always do at LSU that you have to win. I know the expectation of LSU is to win, and my goal has always been to win at LSU.
Now, to get things started, from the LSU Sports Radio Network Capital One Studios, here is former Tiger Gordy Rush and the voice of your Fighting Tigers, Chris Blair.
Good Monday afternoon, everybody, and welcome into the Coach O press conference presented by Cox. Indeed, Tigers got a football game this past Saturday, and right now they've got a football game coming up this Saturday. They'll be on the road again, taking on Texas A&M from Kyle Field. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, as we always do here on the Monday show, we'll hand it off to head coach Ed Ogeron. He'll make his opening statements on the win this past Saturday on the road against Arkansas 27-24. We'll give a brief scouting report on what to expect from the Aggies, and then, of course, we'll take questions from the assembled media virtually here on the Coach O press conference. Gordy Rush joining me, and Gordy, it was quite the weekend. We got to spend an extra night in the Big D, made our way back to Baton Rouge yesterday, but the good news is, and the only story that matters, is LSU played a game for the first time in 3 weeks and came away with a W.
Yeah, I think the biggest storyline has to be that this team, this young team, responded to the adversity up there at Arkansas. They dominated the time of possession with 42 minutes, fell behind in the fourth quarter, and T.J. Finley, freshman quarterback, and some of his young playmakers found a way to come back and win that football game. And Jay Ward, of course, a little bit of redemption with the blocked field goal attempt, and that's the big thing. They found a way to win an SEC game on the road.
And again, you had the young guys, as you pointed out, T.J. Finley, who looked good early. Tigers built a 10-point lead there before the half, 17-7. Then some adversity, and then that's when everybody, I think, started to wonder, okay, he pretty much had things going his way against South Carolina, against Auburn, got rattled a little bit, was unable to overcome that. And to me, the drive down the field, eventually finding Jere Jenkins for the go-ahead score in the fourth quarter, was huge, and it says a lot about that young man.
Yeah, no question. The poise that he showed in the pocket on that last drive, hung around times in which Arkansas rushed 3, they dropped 8. They're going to take away your primary route, sometimes your second route. And it's your ability to hang around in the pocket, move in the pocket to avoid a little bit of the rush and find an open receiver. That's what you got to do as a quarterback when they're dropping 8, and he did exactly that. Huge touchdown pass to Jere Jenkins.
For all the years I've been doing play-by-play, I've never tried to get caught up in a single stat in a game, because when you hang your hat on that, sometimes it comes back to be useless. And we kept talking about, as the game wore on, there was a point there, third quarter was almost over, that Arkansas had only had 3 snaps from the line of scrimmage, and yet you look up and you're in a tight ball game, and as you said, eventually trailing late in that game. Nearly 42 minutes, as you pointed out, time of possession, 18 minutes for Arkansas. But the reason that stat is useless is big plays given up defensively, and that's the issue for LSU. And then in the second half, when Arkansas got rolling, I mean, they didn't even try to hide the fact that they were simply going to snap the ball to Franks in the shotgun. He was going to drop back, and then he was going to sling it.
Yeah, and that's what LSU's got to clean up. That's been their biggest problem this season. I think I saw a stat among the bottom teams in terms of giving up those big, explosive pass plays. And if you took away those pass plays, and I want to say there was maybe 3 or 4 of them in that game, including a 65-yard touchdown to Treylon Burks, you do that, it's a different type of game, but that's something that LSU has struggled with this season. The other side of that equation, Chris, is the offense. For as long as they held the football, there were twice that they had to settle for field goals. There was once in which Terrence Marshall Jr. had a fumble down there in the red zone, and the Tigers drove the football down the field. They just didn't finish off drives. You got to finish off with touchdowns, and you got to finish off drives with points. And if they had done that, this game may not have been as close.
You and I have not had a chance to go back and watch the film again. Sometimes we're able to do that on Sundays. Yesterday, based on our travel, just wasn't enough time in the day. But I wanted to get your thoughts on the offensive line because, when we were here last week, we were talking about the struggles they had against Auburn. There was no running game to speak of. T.J. Finley and eventually Max Johnson were under duress at the snap of the football. And even though it wasn't a gangbusters day running the football for LSU, you go back to that go-ahead touchdown. I mean, T.J. Finley had all day to eventually find Jenkins coming open. But I thought overall, the offensive line played well. If you simply look at the running totals, you may be fooled by that. But I think you got to tip your cap to Arkansas. Depleted up front, as we know.
Right.
But I thought the back end of their defense did a good job covering that up against the rushing attack.
Yeah, look, I think the game plan from Steve Ensminger and company was solid, and that was the matchup that favored LSU. The offensive line against a defensive line that was missing 7 of their top 10 defenders. We had to go deep in the depth chart to see numbers 4, 5, and 6 that were dressed out, as Arkansas only had 6 defensive linemen that were dressed for the ball game. And the offensive line did what they were supposed to. Yeah, I think that's a confidence builder, Chris. It doesn't really, to them, it doesn't matter who was on the other sideline, that you were able to run the football. You were able to have success. By and large, you were able to protect T.J. Finley. Look, I think that's a win for LSU up front and this offensive line that's been hit or miss this season. On the defensive, for Arkansas on the defensive side, look, a lot of credit to Barry Odom. His name has been mentioned as a Broyles candidate finalist for Assistant Coach of the Year, and what he has to work with, Chris. And I'm talking about when you see the eye test, and there are teams like LSU and Alabama, Florida. When you see them, they pass the eye test. Arkansas is rebuilding that program. He does not have the size. It doesn't look like a true SEC defense in some positions, but he gets his team to play hard. They play discipline. And as you mentioned, their run fits on the perimeter were solid. There were no big explosive plays from LSU in the run game.
We talked about Arkansas and the limited numbers they had, and the fact that the Razorbacks, especially in the second half, were able to hit for some big plays that set up scores, eventually allowing them to take the lead. But you can't tell that story without talking about really inexperienced and young secondary for LSU that was thrown into battle, not for a couple of plays, but for a large portion of the second half. Number one, because Eli Ricks was ruled for targeting. As we said on the air, I'm not sure what targeting means anymore. I'll just wait for them to tell us. From this point on, I'll stop guesstimating. So he's gone. And then, of course, unfortunately, Derek Stingley Jr. banged up a little bit, and he was gone throughout the rest of the second half. So, again, Arkansas, to their credit offensively, and Kendall Briles said, hey, let's pick on some of the guys that don't have as much experience out here on this stage.
And that's the thing Arkansas has had success with. They've had the home run ball, and especially with Burks, who had one in this game. He's been fantastic, both running the football and catching the football. And Woods was coming off a huge game with 2 long touchdowns against Florida. You know they were going to take shots. And, I think it's one of these things with the young defensive backs. You need to know down and distance in game situation. Talked about Jay Ward at the end of the half giving up a long pass with 4 minutes left. He's up there playing press coverage. That's a time that you want to play soft, 7 to 8 yards off the line, and make Franks complete 3 or 4 passes underneath. And look, for me, when I've got to pull the depth chart out of my back pocket, we hadn't seen Dwight McGlothern since I think the first game. And all of a sudden, Stingley goes out, and number 2's out there on the football field. And I knew his last name. I'm checking. It's Dwight, right? It's just to make sure. And he's an outstanding prospect. But you're talking about Jay Ward that's coming off a knee surgery that's got thrown into action, a true freshman on the road in the rain playing at Arkansas. You've got to step up in this time.
Again, kudos to Zach Von Rosenberg. I mean, the guy, he loves to engage on social media. And, boy, he's been backing it up when he gets out there on the field. I mean, an excellent job flipping field position a number of times. We could get into the way Arkansas was able to negate that quickly with the big play. But all in all, special teams pretty solid in a day where, as it turned out, they needed him.
No question. And a lot of credit again, Jay Ward. We just talked about him getting beat on that long pass in the second half of the football game. He bounces back, comes off the edge, and huge block on a game-tying field goal. And, yes, LSU special teams, they got the check mark in that football game. One of the reasons LSU won.
Yeah, 44-yarder, never easy, but certainly, as we pointed out, the long had been 48 yards, so they felt like it was within his range. And Jay Ward stepping up big, just got the fingertip on it and slowed the ball up enough. It was nowhere close to getting to the crossbar, and LSU gets out of Fayetteville winning 27-24, now 3-3 on the season. They go back out on the road this Saturday. It's Texas A&M. It's LSU. We're going to take a quick break here on the Coach O press conference presented by Cox. We'll tell you what we know about Texas A&M as we lead you to Ed Ogeron, who will take over on the virtual podium at the bottom half of the hour. Don't forget, when the Tigers win, you win. You can enter promo code LSU50 the Monday after an LSU football win to receive 50% off your online order at papajohns.com. So guess what? That's today. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's. Back in a flash after these words.
Stadium seats may have been replaced with recliners. Tailgates outside the stadium have been swapped for the ones in the backyard. And thousands of screaming fans have been replaced by one screaming baby. But the only thing that hasn't changed? Us, watching the game together.
It's game time, baby.
Show off your Tigers spirit during your next virtual watch party. Visit cox.com/Tigers to take a selfie with Mike the Tiger. And don't forget to share. Watch together, cheer together, take a selfie together. Even if you're not actually together, Cox, bringing us closer. People's Health is your Medicare health team, and People's Health is proud to sponsor your LSU Tiger teams. People's Health knows that when it comes to health care, what works is teamwork. Every People's Health Plan member is backed by a Medicare health team of doctors, nurses, pharmacists, and other health professionals. Whatever your health goals, our team's goal is to help you enjoy the best health possible. So compare your Medicare coverage to a People's Health Medicare Advantage plan. Call for your free information kit. People's Health is the official health plan of LSU Athletics. LSU fans, show your pride with real Tigers gear from the official online store of LSU Athletics, lsushop.net. You'll find everything a Tiger fan needs, including jerseys, jackets, polos, t-shirts, hats, and more, with an awesome selection of more than 4,100 products, including official team merchandise from Nike. When it comes to team pride, there's only one place real Tiger fans go, lsushop.net.
Can't just watch. Basically impossible, roundly implausible to enter the gates of the SEC and be a faint spectator, a fly on the wall, not at all. Excuse yourself to lose yourself in something bigger. The traditions, the superstitions, the fight song in every rendition. You can't just watch. Not in the home of more.
Continuing with the Coach O press conference. Coming up, we'll hear direct from the coach. But once again, here are your hosts, Gordy and Chris.
Couple of minutes remaining before we hand it off to head coach Ed Ogeron for the Coach O press conference presented by Cox on this Monday. Tigers now get set to take on Texas A&M. Coming up this Saturday, Kyle Field, kickoff just after 6 o'clock. All right. Texas A&M LSU, and the rivalry certainly is heated up. It wasn't a rivalry for so many years because Texas A&M couldn't beat LSU. That all changed after the 7 overtime game. Then last year, we all know what happened here in Tiger Stadium as Jimbo and the Aggies were absolutely steamrolled by Joe Burrow and company. This year, A&M, Gordy coming in 5-1 on the season. Lopsided loss to Alabama, 52-24. Got the big win over Florida. Again, started the season, surprised everybody, just got by Vandy 17-12. Would you say, fair to say, best A&M team Jimbo's had since he's been there?
Wow, 2 years ago, I thought that was a pretty good football team, the one that beat LSU in that 7 overtime game. And I'm not exactly sold on this bunch yet, simply because the wins, the win against Florida obviously is a big one. But they beat Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, Arkansas, and South Carolina, and obviously caught South Carolina at a rough spot a couple weeks ago. So for me, 2 years ago, I think was a better football team, and here's why, Chris. They were a physical running football team. They had Williams, the outstanding tailback, and I thought Kellen Mond, especially in the back half of the year, had a really solid season. They lost a lot of those offensive linemen a year ago. They lost their ability to run the football. and Kellen Mond struggled last year in his junior season. This season, they are better running the football. They're averaging 189 yards per game. Isaiah Spiller, their young running back who played a year ago, has been better, averaging 107.2 yards per game with 5 touchdowns. And because of that, Mond has been more efficient as a quarterback. 16 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 64% completion, 245 yards a game. So I think this looks more like a Jimbo Fisher football team.
Well, when you look at the numbers, again, LSU, as we pointed out in the first segment, struggling against big plays, especially in the passing game. In fact, maybe dead last in the country with plays over 50 yards or more. That's the matchup you start looking at. Number one, because of what you mentioned. Kellen Mond, much more efficient this year throwing the football, has only thrown 2 interceptions on the year to 16 touchdowns, as you pointed out. Texas A&M right now averaging just over 250 yards per game through the air, and just under 13 yards per catch. And now back to the 50-plus yard deal. They've got 3 on the season of over 50 yards. They've got 2-3 more that are right near the half-century mark.
And then when you take into consideration their leading receivers, their tight end, Jalen Weidermeyer, who's averaging 11, you probably can inflate that number, the balls that have been thrown to the wide receiver, and that's where LSU has struggled, especially out there on the edge. And Osborne, their outstanding receiver who was coming back for a senior year, decided to opt out. And with that, there's a lot of new faces. Smith, Chase Lane, Caleb Chapman, all guys that have had to step up as young players, and they have played well for them.
All right, defensively for Texas A&M, holding teams to under 100 yards rushing, right at 96 yards per game, 242 they're giving up through the air. Played Vanderbilt. They played Alabama. They played Mississippi State, who never runs the ball, Arkansas, and South Carolina, who they dominated their last time out November 7th, 48-3. What does that rushing stat defensively tell you about Texas A&M, or can it tell you anything?
Yeah, and that's what's really hard for me to grasp because of the schedule they played. They played 2 great teams in Alabama and Florida, and I know that LSU lost to Mississippi State, but they caught Mississippi State a month after everybody kind of figured out how to defend Mike Leach. The game that I look at is the 42-31 game on Halloween, in which they beat Arkansas 42-31, and we just got a good look at that Arkansas offense. And yet Texas A&M still gave up 31 points. Look, they've had some struggles on the back end against Alabama and Florida. They threw the football with some ease. I'm really curious I think it's a good Texas A&M defense. I certainly don't think it's an elite one.
We saw LSU play football Saturday for the first time in 3 weeks. That's Jimbo's challenge this week. Their last game, of course, as I said, November 7th. So 3 weeks when they suited up against LSU, albeit at home, this Saturday.
Yeah, no question. And getting the timing back, especially when you talk about the success the passing game has had in those young receivers, are they able to get their timing back? Because one thing about LSU, I know they've given up some big plays, but even hearing Sam Pittman's post-game press conference, he talked about one of the problems that they had being consistent in the pass game was LSU's ability to put some tight man coverage out there, especially on the intermediate routes.
Again, coming up today at Ogeron, just moments away from addressing the media, I have to believe there'll probably be a question or two about Miles Brennan. I know he was with the team, was throwing the ball a little bit before the game on Saturday. Probably want to get an update on him, looking for, as Coach O said, a miraculous recovery. And then questions, obviously, about Derek Stingley Jr. going into this week against a team that has the propensity to beat you through the air.
Yeah, no question. If LSU's got to go out there again with young defensive backs on the corner, Jimbo Fisher's going to take advantage of that. And so hopefully Stingley, this was just kind of got we talked about he was kneed in the head. They brought him into the locker room. Hopefully he's going to be able to play this weekend.
Well, congratulations to Andre Anthony, and I can't believe it's taken me, almost 20 minutes to come up with it, but he was named SEC Defensive.
It started last Monday with an outstanding week of preparation. They had the will to win the whole game. It was a tough, hard-fought battle. Give credit to Arkansas. Excellent game. Here's some of the things that we did very well that we said we have to do well going into the game. Control the time of possession. We had the ball for almost 42 minutes. Outstanding job by Coach Hensming, calling plays and managing the game. We were 12 of 23 on third down. There was 0 of 10. That was a big part of the football game. TJ, I thought, played a good game. He had no turnovers, had that game-winning throw it in. Nobody was open. He executed his scramble rules. Jarrett Jenkins got open. What a great play by him. Ty Davis-Price had one of his best games, over 100 yards rushing, brought some physicality to the game. Exactly what we wanted. We wanted to be able to control the line of scrimmage, and it was a big part of his running. I thought our O-line did a good job. They gave up no sacks. I thought Jarrett Jenkins had one of his best games. On defense, we had a good plan versus their hurry-up offense. We deferred. We gave them the ball. We went 3 and out. That was big for us to get lined up, get our cleats in the grass. We had a simple game plan, and we let our guys play. Again, I said there was 0-10 on third down. Jabril Cox's interception, obviously a game-winning play there. Andre Anthony had his best game. The young players had to step up with the cornerbacks getting hurt. I thought our young secondary did a lot of good things. Jay Ward's stop on third down was a phenomenal play. Special teams, Zach had a great game, 5 punts inside the 10-yard line. The difference in the game is the field position, and again, the blocked field goal by our special teams at the end. Texas A&M, real good football team, going on the road, well-coached team. Kellen Mond's a good player. They got a strong offensive line. Kenyon Green is a guy we recruited, was probably one of the best guards in the SEC, if not the country. They have the number 1 defense in the SEC. I think they're 12th in the country in rushing defense. Very tough, very solid football team, but we're going to be ready for the challenge. It's going to be kind of a short week. Our players are going to go home for Thanksgiving. We have an early practice on Thursday morning, then come back on Friday and get ready to go to Texas A&M. Any questions?
Hey, Ed, how often this year, I mean, in comparison to last year, do offenses try and, run those rub routes, picking your secondary? It seems like y'all got better at that against Arkansas. Is that something people have kind of honed in on?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. When you're playing man coverage, you're going to get that. And Bulls work very hard against, some of our defenses are part man, part zone. It all depends on the formation. But when you get a slot like that and you get 2 guys rubbing you, it's going to be hard. And we got better at it. We gave the first one the touchdowns, the rub route. You got to put them on different levels. You got to make adjustments and maybe help with a safety on top.
And it seems like Micah Baskerville played well in those situations too. I mean, week to week, has he kind of earned his spot there? And what did you see from him in Arkansas?
Yeah, he's able to key and diagnose. Michael was the 5A player of the year at Evangel High School. That's why I recruited him. An excellent player in high school. When he first came here, was having a good year. As a freshman, showed us that he can key and diagnose. He fits in well in Coach Pelini's scheme. He gets to the football. He's a tremendous young man.
Hey, Coach. Paul Boran from Cox Sports Television. We always hear the expression that losing hurts worse than winning feels good. But I imagine after 3 weeks, winning felt pretty good on Saturday.
Yeah, it did. I was excited for the coaching staff. I was excited for our players, our team, the LSU fans. And, again, it took everything we had to beat Arkansas, and we did it. And hopefully it's a springboard for us to have a great end to the season and start with Texas A&M.
Hey, Coach. Shea Dixon with 24/7. You said before the season you thought Andre Anthony would be more of a natural fit playing in a 4-3 end. Now he's got, up there in the D-line lead in sacks and tackles. What's sort of been key for him to settle in and now play like he's playing?
Playing on the edge, you want your best pass rusher at the right end. Him and BJ play that right end position. He gets a lot of one-on-ones with the offensive tackle coming on the blind side. He's got a nice, what he calls a double hand swipe. One of the tackles for loss, we had a nice stunt on. It was a triple. He was coming around. We ran right into the mesh point and the quarterback. So I think the attack and defensive line is what you're seeing instead of sitting back and reading, getting in the backfield, making plays, and he's perfect for that.
Hey, Coach, this is Jared Brotman with the Reveille. We've seen in years past, and even this year as well, in Texas A&M games where there is defensive pressure on Kellen Mond. He's struggled in the pocket. How important is it for this team to develop a good pass rush on Monday to make Mond feel?
It makes sense. What you're saying makes a lot of sense. Last year we put some pressure on them, and we're going to have to, just like any game. But you know what? The good part about this team is that we can put pressure with a 4-man rush. I feel comfortable rushing 4 and playing coverage. That's your best defense now. if we have to blitz them, we have to put some pressure on. The Bull has a bunch of blitzes, but I think the first thing that we need to do is be able to rush with 4.
Hey, Coach, this is Josh Sibley with Louisiana Gridiron Football. Just going back to that pass rush, A&M comes into the game allowing only 2 sacks this year. Is this a game where you lean heavily on that pass rush and get more pressure from different angles, try to get more pressure on Kellen Mond?
Yeah, we have to. He gets rid of the ball quick. There's a lot of play action pass. But you know what? I don't know much about them only giving up 2 sacks. I know that already. I don't know why. I didn't study them that much. But I do believe we can put pressure on him. Now, Kellen's he's a dual-threat quarterback. He can avoid a rush and run the football, much like Felipe Francis did last week. We're going to have to be able to contain him.
Hey, Ed, do you now have a few days later an update on Derek Stingley? How's he doing? What's his status?
Yeah, Derek's going to practice today. He's going to be in a gold jersey. He looks like he's going to be okay. I haven't had a final. He's not cleared totally yet, but it looks like he's going to be fine.
Brooks. Hey, with do you have an update on Racy as well? I mean, it looked like he pulled up a little bit.
Yeah, Racy's out. He's very doubtful for the game.
Okay.
Yep.
Hey, Coach, with it being Texas A&M and your first trip back there since that 7-over game a couple years ago.
You have to remind me.
Sorry, man. I kind of had to. But that and it being your first ranked opponent, is there any added emotions to this game this weekend?
I think that, you could internally, I thought about it this morning, to be honest with you, when I saw the film and I saw the stadium. Some thoughts came by, but you know what? It's my job to be able to prevent problems this week, have a great practice, and not allow those things to happen that happened to us last time. And we have to go and play our best game. I think Texas A&M is a much better team when they're playing at home than they're playing on the road. At least our series, they're going to play their best football. They're going to have a great crowd. Probably the first time, and I'm imagining they're going to have a great crowd. Probably the first time this year that the crowd noise will be a factor. We're going to have to be able to handle it. We're better to handle the emotions. They're going to be sky high. They haven't played in a while, but so will we.
Jacques, your audio is not working. Just FYI. We'll come back to you. Ed?
Hey, Coach. Ed here in New Orleans. How much do you think the defense has improved, and do you think that Bo Pelini has steadied that unit, and are you pleased with what you see on that side of the ball recently?
Yeah, well, I'm pleased the way we played for most of the game against Arkansas. I thought that we had our cleats in the grass. We had a great plan for the hurry-up offense, but still not pleased with the deep balls, still not pleased with the rub routes, still not pleased with the explosive plays, and definitely not pleased by the way we played most of the season. We need to improve to be a championship defense, and everybody knows that.
Hey, Coach. Obviously, Texas A&M comes in with a pretty high-powered rushing attack, and you guys did, showed some strides last weekend against Arkansas in that area. I was just wondering, just through watching the film, what were some of the things you guys noticed that you did a little bit better in stopping the run?
Well, I thought our guys dominated their offensive line. That's the first time I can tell you that. I think that we had some little run stunts in there that we did very well. We played with good technique. We didn't let the ball run inside the tackles, and we tackled well. Now, Texas A&M has a great running attack. Spiller is an outstanding player. They have some speed back there. They put different guys back there to run. Tommy Robinson, who coached with us, coaches the running back, does a great job. You're going to see 21 personnel. You're going to see 12 personnel. There's a lot of pro-style stuff. Jimbo's a very good coach. They use their tight end well. They throw to their tight end. A very balanced offense, but their run game starts with their offensive line. I think this is one of the better offensive lines that we have faced this year.
Hey, Coach, I don't know if you can hear me, but a couple of quick questions for you. number one, how many scholarship players did you have available for this game? You have any kind of idea? And second, in the second half, Gilbert appeared to be running down the seam open, and TJ just didn't quite hit him. Are those the kind of plays that he is going to make moving forward?
Yeah, well, when I saw him in the hall today, I said, throw it to number 2, okay? If all else fails, just throw it to number 2, right? And I don't know the amount that we had. I don't check that. We traveled with 69, and that's what we had on the plane. We could travel with 70, but we were at 69 when we traveled.
Hey, Coach. Amos Morale from WWL Radio. You mentioned sending the guys home for Thanksgiving, and I was just wondering if you had to preach any extra precautions because of the pandemic and, tell them to be a little more careful this year or anything like that.
Yeah, definitely. Go home and have it with your family only. Know who's there. Obviously, don't attend any parties or no big gatherings, but I think, going home with your family is Thanksgiving. I think it'll be fine. We test our guys. They're going to follow all the precautions. Shelley's going to talk to them about leaving, going home, what they should and they shouldn't do. I think we'll be fine.
Hey, Coach, this is William at Tiger Rag. I want to get your thoughts on the review and the film of Elias Ricks' targeting call.
Yeah.
And second, who replaces him for the first half on Saturday?
Yeah, he did hit him with the head. He hit with the shoulder first, but the head hit. I thought it was targeting, so I got no beef with that. I think it was a good call. We haven't decided who's going to start for him yet. We have to make a decision between Cordell and Jay Ward, and see who's available, and we'll make that decision towards the end of the week.
Thank you.
All right.
Hey, Ed, the SEC did not release any TV times for next week's games. Obviously, it looks like there could be some shuffling in the schedule. How much are you involved or being looped in on any of those decisions? And how do you prepare, knowing that your opponent could change from week to week?
Well, the good thing is we knew this season will be very fluid. We're focusing on Texas A&M, but I sure hope that the rescheduled Alabama game, we want to play Alabama. It's a great rivalry, and we look forward to playing them. So if they can fit it into where we can play Alabama, I'm sure that they're going to do it. We have Alabama, we have Florida, we have Ole Miss left, and those are all some great games, and we're ready to play every one of them.
And how do you prepare, knowing that you prepared ahead of time? Is this something you have your analysts involved in doing?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. How does that work?
Yeah, well, we're scheduled for Ole Miss next week, so we have Ole Miss analysts breaking down Ole Miss. All right, we have already broken down Alabama because we thought we were going to play them at the beginning, so that's done. And then we have already broken down Florida, so that's done. So as far as the analytical work, most of it's been done. Now, the last couple of games haven't been done, but we have enough information that if we need to start new next week with anybody else, we're going to be ready to go.
Coach Scooter Hobbs and Lake Charles, Scott kind of asked my question, but I'll follow up on it. What do you think is the hang-up? It seems like a pretty simple solution to get the Alabama game rescheduled. What do you think they're waiting on?
Scooter, that's out my wheelhouse. I have no clue. But I know that my gut feeling is that it's going to be rescheduled, and I hope it is. And look forward to playing them.
Coach, do you think that your team is maybe starting to grow up a little bit, or can you see that? Because on Saturday it looked like in a lot of respects the old LSU.
Yeah.
Better defense, running the ball. Do you think this team is maybe starting to get it, whatever that is? Yeah,
it sure looked like it, Ed. It felt like it. And it not only felt like it during the game, it felt like in those 3 weeks of practice. We was embarrassed about our performance at Auburn. I took the blame. We got to get better. We got to practice better. We got better leadership. We got to coach better. And we were not playing like LSU should play. Did we play like an LSU football team? We looked at it. At some time, we looked like an LSU football team. But we still have ways to go. But we have some young players that are believing and hopefully making the last play of the game, gave our guys some belief and some confidence to fight through that they can win.
Hey, Coach, going back for a second, whenever you were talking about crowd noise being the factor maybe for the first time all year, how do you specifically help prepare TJ and Max play for that atmosphere on Saturday?
Yeah, as far as snap count for number one, how we're going to handle the snap count, that's huge on the road. We play music. We play. Doug has a John Deere with a big speaker right behind it, and we play some music as loud as we possibly can. We get tired of hearing it on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then just give him a situation where he's going to be calm, and that he can make the right calls.
Coach Steve Moulton from WZZN. With Texas A&M being out a couple of weeks and really what you've seen out of what they've put on film, I'm wondering, especially offensively, how this team, you think, has grown from last year to this year.
Well, I think it starts with their physicality. I mean, their offensive line is a lot better offensive line than we played last year. Their run game's a lot better. Kellen Mond's playing better. They protected them, only 2 sacks. And then you got to look at their defense. They got the number 1 defense in the SEC. That's very impressive. They're tough against the run. Their defensive coordinator can dial up blitzes. They can play a 4-3. They can play a 3-4. Their defensive line's playing very well. I just think they're playing overall good football, and they improved in almost every area since last year.
Hey, Ed, following up on a question from earlier, I mean, so how will things kind of form behind Racy? Who fills in for him? Where do y'all see that line?
Yeah, well, well, hopefully we can get Trey Palmer back. I don't know if he's going to be back this week. But, we have a lot of receivers that can go out there. Keyshawn Butte is a good young receiver, can get out there. Corey Moore, another receiver. John Trey Kirkland, another receiver who can put out there. So we have a lot of choices.
And I don't know if you saw it yesterday. I'm wondering just your thoughts after Joe Burrow's injury. I mean, I'm wondering what you saw from that, what you think.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough to watch. And we all watched it. We felt bad for him. And Joe's a competitor. I texted him today. I know he's going to be back. I know his attitude. He's probably working out today, getting on the next season. I thought he was having, maybe a Rookie of the Year season. We were very proud of him. We follow Joe. We follow everything he does, like we do all the players in the NFL.
Coach, since it is Thanksgiving, I was wondering what you were most thankful for, and maybe a side dish or two that is your favorite.
Well, I was thankful for my family and thankful for being the head coach at Louisiana State University. That's been a blessing in my life. And there's no question that oyster dressing is my favorite for Thanksgiving.
Hey, Coach, what's the latest on Miles Brennan? What's he going through, or what might the near future be for him and his?
Yeah, we still haven't made a decision. It doesn't look like he's going to play. We still haven't made a decision on the operation if it's best to do it now. Jack is handling that with his parents and the doctors, and it's just not clear cut right now. So it's still probably status quo, but he's definitely not playing this week.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys. Go Tigers.
There he is, Coach Ed Ogeron, as his team gets ready to take on Texas A&M coming up this Saturday from Kyle Field with kickoff just after 6 o'clock. Couple of news and notes from the coach if you caught us late. And number one, looks like Derek Stingley Jr. Is well on his way to be ready to play this coming Saturday, which is huge for the LSU secondary. Racy McMath, not so much, looking like he'll be ready to go in the receiving corps this week after both of those players banged up in the game against Arkansas. And then, of course, finally, oyster dressing. Put it on the menu for your Thanksgiving coming up. We'll take a quick break. We come back, couple of news and notes, programming notes, that is, and send you on your way. It's the Coach O Press Conference presented by Cox right here on the LSU Sports Radio Network. Support your LSU Tigers with Hancock Whitney, the official bank of LSU Athletics. From game day to the offseason, Hancock Whitney LSU credit and debit cards are a big win for any Tiger fan. Want to get your paws on these cards? Well, apply online or visit HancockWhitney.com/LSU. Hancock Whitney Bank, member FDIC. All accounts subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions may apply.
If this year has taught us anything, it's we can all do more than we ever thought possible. that compassion can persevere through the greatest challenge, and that ingenuity and excellence can transform us forever. At Our Lady of the Lake, we see each person, never simply the patient, because health is a human experience. Our Lady of the Lake, the official healthcare provider of LSU Athletics.
When the ground shifts beneath you, you can run or you can stand firm. At LSU, our stand is rock solid. Our blood runs hot, even as our heads stay cool. Because now is a pivotal moment in the fight for our future. And we refuse to back down when the world needs solutions. LSU, fierce for the future.
If SEC football runs deep in your veins, then SiriusXM SEC Radio is where you need to be. We're talking conference and team previews, live games, news and analysis from experts like Chris Doering and Aaron Murray, coaches shows, championship specials, and more. Get inside SEC football and do it for free. Listen on your phone, online, and at home with the free SiriusXM trial. Start listening at SiriusXM.com/SECSXM. Back to wrap up today's Coach O press conference. Once again, here is Chris Blair.
All right, Tigers 3-3 on the season. They head to Texas A&M this Saturday. Aggies 5-1 on the year. And, of course, today was the chance for the media to talk to Coach O. And just before the Thanksgiving holiday, you get your chance coming up Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. The Ed Ogeron Show, presented by Hancock Whitney, coming to you live from TJ Ribs. You can dial us up, question for the coach. You can send us one live via Twitter at LSU Radio. You can even submit questions through the LSU Sports mobile app. We hope you'll join us on Wednesday evening. Then on Saturday, Thanksgiving holiday weekend, we'll get it cranked up at 4 o'clock. Brandon Taylor, Marlon Fabright, Hunt Palmer. They'll have LSU Game Day presented by CST. And then hand it off to myself, Greg Bowser, and, of course, Gordy Rush, best hands on the sideline in the SEC without question. We'll have the coverage of Texas A&M and LSU coming up live from Kyle Field with kickoff just after 6 o'clock. Again, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll be back here again next Monday for the Coach O press conference. Today, all presented by Cox Communications. Until then, this is Chris Blair saying so long, everybody, and go Tigers.
This has been the Coach O press conference. Go Tigers. For the very latest on Fighting Tiger football, follow them on Twitter at LSU Football. Online anytime at lsusports.net or download the all-new LSU Sports mobile app. The Coach O press conference is an exclusive presentation of the LSU Sports Radio Network and Outfront Sports. The LSU Sports Radio Network is a division of LSUSB.